This story was one of my favorite stories growing up as a child. I'm sure someone in the audience has heard of Little Red Riding Hood or has read that when they were a little kid, and they may have enjoyed it just as much as I have. This book is written by and retold by Gabby Goldsack and illustrated by Dubravka Kolanovic. And this book basically teaches children not to talk to strangers. Little Red Riding Hood is the one that talks to the big bad wolves, and she finds out in the very end that he isn't who she thought he was, and she's basically taught not to talk to strangers and people or animals or anyone that she doesn't know, or they could be dangerous. Okay. Once again, this is called Little Red Riding Hood. Once upon a time, there was a little girl who lived with her mommy in a cottage on the edge of a big forest. Whenever the little girl went outside to play, she wore a beautiful red cloak that her grandmother had made her. It had a big red hood, so everyone called the little girl Little Red Riding Hood. One day, Little Red Riding Hood's mommy asked her to take a basket of food to Grandma. "Grandma isn't feeling very well," Mommy explained, "and I'm sure she'd love to see you." Grandma lived on the other side of the forest, so Mommy drew a map on a piece of paper so that Little Red Riding Hood wouldn't get lost. On the way, Little Red Riding Hood saw some beautiful blue flowers. "Grandma might like these," she thought. As she bent down to pick a handful of the flowers, she didn't realize someone else was in the forest. "Hello, little girl," said a deep, growly voice. Little Red Riding Hood jumped with affright. A big wolf peered out from behind one of the trees. "Oh, hello," replied Little Red Riding Hood, smiling back at the wolf. She had already forgotten her mommy's warning. "Where are you going?" growled the wolf. "I'm visiting my sick grandma who lives on the other side of the forest," Little Red Riding Hood explained. "Ah, what a kind girl you are," smiled the wolf, showing off his razor-sharp teeth. See? Just then the wolf's tummy gave a loud rumbly grumble. "What was that?" asked Little Red Riding Hood. "Just some thunder over the hill," said the sneaky, hungry wolf, as he ran away as fast as he could to Grandma's cottage. See? The hungry wolf peered through Grandma's window and saw the old lady in bed. With a loud howl, the wolf dashed into the cottage and gobbled up Grandma in one large gulp. Then the wolf put on Grandma's spare nightcap and glasses, clambered into her bed, and pulled the quilt up to his chin. Now all he had to do was wait for Little Red Riding Hood to arrive. When Little Red Riding Hood reached the cottage, she was surprised to find the front door wide open. "Grandma?" she called. "Are you there?" "I'm in the bedroom," replied a wolf in a strange, wobbly voice. Little Red Riding Hood went into the bedroom and gasped in surprise when she saw her grandma. She looked sort of different. Grandma must be very sick, she thought Little Red Riding Hood. I hope it isn't catching. What big eyes you have, Grandma, she said as she went over to the bed. All the better for seeing you with, the wolf replied in the same wobbly voice. Okay. Grandma, what big ears you have, Little Red Riding Hood added, moving closer. All the better for hearing you with, said the wolf with a toothy grin. My, what big teeth you have, Grandma, stuttered Little Red Riding Hood. All the better for eating you with, said the wolf. Little Red Riding Hood screamed and tried to run away, but the hungry wolf was too fast. He leaped out of the bed and gobbled her up in one single greedy gulp. A passing woodcutter heard Little Red Riding Hood scream and ran into the cottage. When he saw the wolf's enormous belly, he guessed what had happened. He picked up the wolf and shook him hard. Little Red Riding Hood and Grandma flew out of the wolf's mouth. Luckily, they weren't hurt, but they were very cross, very upset. Grandma, Little Red Riding Hood, and the woodcutter chased the wolf into the forest and over the hill. The embarrassed wolf never came back, and Little Red Riding Hood never spoke to strangers again. The end. In conclusion, this book is about children not speaking to strangers, and it's discussed in a way or talked about in a way so it's better for them to understand the concept at such a young age. Thank you.